CrowdStrike. A cybersecurity company called CrowdStrike pushed a security update to their Falcon agent. It was supposed to protect people. Instead, it caused a compatibility issue with the Windows kernel, the core part of the operating system that manages hardware. 8.5 million computers running Windows suddenly stopped working, blue screens everywhere, airports shut down, hospitals canceled surgeries, banks couldn't process transactions, 911 call centers went offline. It was chaos. One IT administrator on Reddit summed it up perfectly. Blue screen of death as a service. Here's the ugly truth. CrowdStrike ignored their own staging process. They pushed the update to everyone at once. No canary deployment, no gradual rollout, no testing, just unskippable and everywhere. The fix? Every affected machine had to be manually repaired. Boot into safe mode. Uninstall the update, one by one. IT workers around the world spent days fixing what one update broke in minutes. Windows RT 8.1? Microsoft finally releases the Windows RT 8.1 update. Surface RT owners had been waiting for this. They hit install, they waited, and then they saw it. The blue screen of death, an error message. Your PC needs to be repaired. The boot configuration data file is missing some required information. Microsoft had just bricked their own tablet, the only device that actually ran Windows RT in any meaningful quantity. The update corrupted the boot configuration data. The tablets were rendered completely inoperable. Microsoft pulled the update from the Windows Store. But not before thousands of Surface RT owners were left with expensive paperweights. Some were angry. Some were furious. One wrote on Microsoft's support forum, "Just tell me how to return my Surface RT for full refund. I am fed up with it." The worst part? Microsoft didn't even tell people they pulled the update. Users spent hours troubleshooting, searching for answers, while Microsoft stayed silent. iOS 8.0.1. It was supposed to fix early bugs in iOS 8. Instead, it immediately broke the company's newest, most expensive phones, the iPhone 6 and iPhone 6 Plus, which had launched only days earlier. The second the update finished installing, it completely fried the cellular network connection. Millions of users instantly lost all cell service. Their brand new iPhones couldn't make phone calls or send texts. It also completely disabled the Touch ID fingerprint sensor, locking users out of biometric security. And here's the worst part. Because the update broke cellular data, users couldn't even use their data networks to find out what was wrong or download a fix. It was a no internet catch-22. The damage was so immediate and widespread that Apple took the unprecedented step of completely pulling the update off its servers just 1 hour and 15 minutes after releasing it. They had to issue emergency instructions, telling millions of stranded users to manually plug their phones into computers via iTunes to downgrade back to iOS 8.0. It took Apple days to rush out iOS 8.0.2 to clean up the mess. It's historically recognized as the fastest and most catastrophic software failure in iPhone history. iOS 10. 2 years later, Apple did it again. September 2016. Apple released iOS 10, the big update, the one everyone was excited about. And then the reports started coming in. iPhones and iPads were bricking, disabled, completely non-functional. The problem? Over-the-air updates. Users who tried to install iOS 10 wirelessly were getting stuck. The update process failed mid-installation, leaving devices unusable. Apple's solution? Plug it into iTunes, which is great if you have a computer, which not everyone does. It wasn't the first time. Earlier in 2016, an iOS 9 update had bricked iPhones with an Error 53 security feature. The phone's fingerprint sensor failed, and Apple's update locked the device completely. Users who had their phones repaired by third-party shops found themselves with dead devices. Android 15. Fairphone 5 owners get the Android 15 update. They hit install. Their phones freeze on the boot screen. Stuck. Dead. The update only bricked phones with broken fingerprint sensors. Android 15 introduced stricter hardware verification during startup. If the fingerprint sensor wasn't functioning properly, the phone simply refused to boot. Users who had been living with a broken fingerprint sensor were now living with a completely dead phone. Some even attempted the update hoping it might fix the fingerprint issue. It didn't. It just killed their device. Fairphone confirmed the issue. A fix was coming. But for thousands of users, the damage was already done. Their phones were bricked because of an update that was supposed to improve them. PS4 Firmware 9.0. Sony releases the PS4's v9.0 firmware update, alongside the PS5's big SSD expansion update. Some users report that the firmware patch is hard bricking their PS4 consoles. Multiple users on Reddit report the same thing. Their base PS4s and PS4 Pros stop functioning after downloading the v9.0 update. The consoles blink blue, signifying some sort of hardware or OS error. The consoles will not power on. They do not work. The most frustrating part? Gamers can't use their PS4s or PS4 Pros online without downloading the update. Sony forces users to update to the latest firmware in order to connect to the internet or the PlayStation Store. Sony asked users to spend $100 in order to repair consoles that had been hard-bricked by its own official updates. A soft brick is usually reversible. A hard brick is usually permanent, and this update delivered both. PS3 firmware 4.45. June 2013, Sony releases the PS3 firmware update 4.45. It was supposed to add trophy notification options and improved system stability. Instead, it immediately rendered a vast number of healthy consoles completely useless. Upon installation, the update entirely wiped out the console's main dashboard, the X-ROS media bar. Users were stuck staring at a blank, glowing wave animation on their screens, effectively bricking the console. The damage was so severe that Sony was forced to officially pull the update within hours. They had to issue a critical guide forcing users to manually boot into safe mode via a USB stick just to restore their consoles to working order. It remains widely recognized as the worst PlayStation system update of all time. Roku and TCL Smart TVs. A class action lawsuit hits Roku and TCL. The allegation? Automatic software updates are systematically destroying smart TVs. Thousands of users report the same thing. Their TVs freeze mid-Netflix binge, permanent black screens, endless restart loops, expensive televisions becoming completely unusable. Unlike phones, smart TVs don't let you roll back updates. You can't downgrade. You can't refuse. The update comes, your TV dies, and there's nothing you can do about it. The lawsuit claims Roku and TCL knew about the defects and pushed the updates anyway. Marketing promises of reliable performance and ongoing improvements turned out to be empty. Your $500 TV became a paperweight 18 months after purchase. The affected models include Roku Select Series, Roku Plus Series, and TCL TV 3, 4, 5, and 6 series. One plaintiff's TCL Roku TV began malfunctioning just a few years after purchase, flashing a white light before the screen went black permanently. A replacement TV later suffered similar issues. Windows 11, May 2026. Security update. Microsoft pushes a mandatory security update to Windows 11 users. And it's a disaster. The update shipped with a bug that caused installation failures on machines that lacked enough space on their EFI system partition. The EFI system partition is a small partition that stores boot files. If there isn't enough space, the installation fails. The systems freeze, get stuck in infinite reboot loops, throw rollback screens. The problem affected devices with less than 10 megabytes of free space on their EFI partition. And here's the rub. Most Windows users don't even know what an EFI partition is. They just know their computer is broken. Tens of millions of everyday PCs were left unpatched or forced into infinite crashes requiring users to completely wipe their computers and reinstall Windows to recover. Microsoft's solution? A registry edit, which the vast majority of users will never find or understand. It was a mandatory security update that made systems less secure, because you can't install a security update if your computer doesn't boot. Windows updates breaking your device is just one item on a much longer list. Every major Windows fuck-up explained is on screen right now.